So when Chris was done, is the happy trails.
Let me see. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Just want to make sure I'm on it.
Thank you.
Would you? No, is that what you would like?
I'm gonna go and see if we can actually hear it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we should hear it.
Hello, everyone.
Just in case. Need a
I'm gonna
hand
go out
around.
and grab my hat and take a picture.
Sure.
It's yours. Thanks.
Of course. Let's sit. Good. Yeah.
I have a little bit of a hype today.
Oh, yeah, look at your sparkles. Okay. You don't like how we have this here. Except for Rob, he's sitting here too. Oh, of course, only one of us will be.
We're all running the
I
same.
have a good time. How do you know Bob?
Sorry about that, guys.
No, I didn't. He was my grandpa, so. First name.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to remember sometimes. Thank you.
Hi. Okay, how are you? You're okay. You're good, yeah. Sorry to see you under these circumstances, but it's really good to see you. It's aside from Facebook. But looks like you and your family are sitting around. Go in here and go in there and. Wow.
How you doing?
That's awesome. You're still breathing. Thank you. That's the other Sure. This is the first time we've seen each other. For years.
The only problem here is somebody's gonna come in and out. I see now.
Do you want to come right here? We'll just put it right behind you.
You're not.
Yeah. Say that's what I do. Well, we're all family. So. You never know. Is that good there?
Let's say it.
Right there, right in. Hold that. Hold it down. And lock it in. Here. Bring it down. Hold on.
Excellent.
And I was. If you don't mind, motions. It's only 40 years, 45 years ago. That was great. If you're anywhere close to vintage. It is. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And well, I guess I have and so James.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then inside. Well, I think
Yeah, we speak English now, so you've overcome your Marine Corps infection. You're not still working. No. It'll come. It'll come. It'll come back. Just let it flow. Wow. Thank you. Thanks for coming up.
Oh, yes, sir. Been long Oh, yeah, I had last. Well, we got through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I would yet. Thanks for trying to get me credit.
Oh, we didn't.
I did first time for you.
You did?
Yeah.
I'd like to. You turn this off.
And then sign your name. You want these saved or?
No. So,
You look very familiar.
what do you?
I'm Cosmo.
I think you're Ken Marcus. How are you?
Much longer than forever. I remember seeing you like yesterday at, I think it was awesome. And my friend, and, Pro.
Yes.
You had Ken pick cars and, we had some very common. It seemed like you took a cigarette and just a match. And you pulled it over the hard match. I just that's romantic. I don't know. I think you're probably the touch over. You know, around the man who was for the last 30 years. And I was just in awe. And I still have thoughts of this from then. I went out and bought as many as I could get.
I've got a selection of those. I don't know if they even like now.
I know. I can walk them a lot of them. I mean, they're possible.
Yeah.
But I said, no, these have some kind of sense. I was it was just a casual message. All right, let's see if I can figure it over. Didn't say a word. Just let it sit there until we saw it. That's the lesson I took. Just have the patience to let me see.
I haven't been over to your theater yet, but I'm going to try.
Well, it would be great to have you over. You've been in the Colorado area ever since?
Yeah.
You've been in the city and stuff for a while, and as well as, I don't remember.
Primarily,
I threw your name off.
Primarily, I'm in Colorado Springs.
Oh, you are. That may be real. Yeah. I was done from.
I'm glad that Buckskin Joe's got caught and lost in the fire. Yeah.
I just thought it was down. Went away.
They picked it up, every building, lock, stock, and barrel. And it's owned by one of the rich Cook brothers in a private city, private Old West town, of Rifle.
You're in Colorado. You can see it.
You can see it on, if you go to Google,
It's been a while since I've
and
seen
you can
it.
find the location.
I'm horrible
You can see the outline of the
with
town and the shadows and stuff like
Not
that.
usually.
But I do remember.
It's his own private party.
I feel like you must be.
Yes.
He's
I
a
remember
big
you
old
used to be
West
there.
Buck.
Like crazy
He
colors like
owns-
me.
He owns that 10 building with kids. He's bought a lot of old West stuff from
Oh, yeah,
like
with grandpa.
Colorado Springs.
You're attached to me.
You go to Madison Springs?
You were little then. Yeah.
What's,
25,
not Mountain Man.
Really?
From that,
Goodness sake.
Rushton Avenue Traders.
Okay.
He's got a whole lot of antiques and stuff like that. And he's sold a number of things to folks. It's his own private playground. And the thing was, is he couldn't make it public because in order to do that, he would have to make it to ADA compliant. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to make it public.
That's interesting. Wow. You gotta look that place was growing up. I'm just in that there. That afternoon at the Pueblo Mall and that restaurant may have been the last time I saw you actually. If not once or twice after, shortly after.
I'll jump in. God of heaven, creator and sustainer of everything, we thank you that we can get together today and remember our friend, our father, our loved one, your son, Bob Moore. We ask that as we're here that you would do what you do best and comfort those who are mourning and those who have lost, and turn this moment into joy knowing that a friend or father is with you. And so there's nothing, he's complete and whole and home and smiling and waiting for us. Thank you for that comfort. Let your spirit move among us and give that to each of us. All this I ask in the beautiful name of Jesus. Amen.
This is hard because normally if I'm on a stage, you're looking at my dad and I'm just handing things and getting the heck off the stage. I'm Bob's oldest daughter, Chris, and on behalf of all of his children, I want to thank you so much for being here with us. It means a lot to us. And a special thanks to the Groves for allowing Dad's request to have this here. You might think it's unusual to have something like this at the Party People and Theater of Mystery, but anybody who knew him knows that there is no more perfect place for this. You may notice that we hit you hard right away with Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, no less. But that's because of something he said to Heather. He said when they were talking about his final wishes, which were, I don't care. He said, even if people don't love me, if you play that song, there won't be a dry eye in the house. So obviously, we're looking at this to be more of a celebration of his life than coming together in sadness. And so to remember his life, Rob has some things to share with us all.
Okay, so that's the end of the sad, correct? Dad didn't want a funeral, he wanted a celebration of life. He wanted to be remembered for who he was and how he was. And so we're going to alter that and just think of the nice things. I can't improvise like he did. So I got some notes that actually Dad helped me with. So I'm just going to read the first part and then we'll just go from there. Just read it the way I wrote it. Try to make it sound natural. Think of something sad so it sounds like there's some emotion to it. Audiences eat that up. Start reading out loud. A hardworking single parent since birth. My father was a saint. Many of you may not know this, but my first mother left Dad while he was still pregnant with me. My father worked several jobs to support the tiny embryo that would grow to become his firstborn middle child. How many of you were at Dad's 40th birthday party? That's going to be important. Dad was a patriot. He wasn't able to serve in the military. He was a commandant in the Nixon Youth in '68. Because of his lack of military service, I was unable to get the Blue Angels to fly over as he requested. But I did find Angel the stripper from that birthday. Actually, I found her family. Tragically, she passed away from complications due to old age, dementia, and severe scoliosis about 6 months after that party. She was 104. The nice thing about a small private service is that I don't have to tell you who did this. I don't have to eulogize him. I think if I did, it would piss him off. I'll tell you something about my dad that may confuse many of you or upset some of you, because it doesn't line up with the image you may have in your heads of him or the relationship I had. Bob Moore was a good one. And I mean that. I have evidence. I read some of his paperwork after. He would never have let on while he was alive. He was a good man. He didn't feel halfway. He was all in or all out. He either completely loved you or the rest of us heard stories about him. This humor could be dark. It was never mean. It was never quite mean. It was never completely mean. It was razor sharp. It was rapid fire. And no one can think faster on their feet than he came to a joke upon a zinger, a jab. He was a master. I spent most of my life competing with my image of him. Trying to be a magician in my youth, trying to be a comedian in my early adult years, trying to be other things that just came so naturally. But the best audience I ever had was him. And I realized that I wasn't looking for approval. I got validation by making the funniest man I could laugh. So that leads me into the last story I'm going to tell, and then we're going to mingle and share stories. We really, if we're going to memorialize him properly, we should be serving really strong, cheap coffee.
Lots of it.
In dirty mugs. Because it hasn't been washed for 3 years because it's seasoned. That's where the real flavor comes from. And if you get to the bottom and you need a refill, you don't get up and get it. You don't ask for it. You both come up and just remember. And one of the three of us would be guilted into getting it for you. So one of his running jokes with me, and I doubt he did this with you guys, was his 25 years of I like my coffee like I like my women jokes. And he never finished the same one twice. It was always a different punchline after that opening. And the best laugh I ever got from him was when he started with, I like my coffee like I like my women. He was at my house on my couch drinking my coffee, and before he could answer, I said, 3? And he almost did spit take, and it was like the greatest moment. The funniest man alive just laughed at a joke. I felt that laughter in my toenails. It was the holy grail. I loved my dad very much. I didn't get to spend as much time with him as I wanted to the last couple of years. I got to spend a lot of time catching up with him the last couple of weeks. Not the way I wanted to. But man, everybody in this room, he loved you. He didn't just like you, he didn't just know you. Everybody here is here because he loved you. So thank you for being here and remembering with us. What I really want is for all of you to take the time to look through the scrapbooks, look at some of the pictures that are out there. Come tell us who he was to you. Good stuff. Even if it's a little mistake, you don't have to. I won't. But, you are all family, and thank you for being here.
I only got to be on stage when I was about 6. And I was in a set of stairs most of the time. So this is unusual for me, but being able to really care for Dad the last couple of years, I'm just going to cry. We should it was a side of him that I really never saw as a kid. He was always strong and little Main Street, and do what I say, not what I do, that kind of thing. And so to see him a little bit diminished was very eye-opening for all of us. But even in that, even in that, he was still strong. He was still strong. He was very determined to. He had good friends that would take him places if I couldn't. He would be on the SRDA bus or whatever he could, and he maintained as much independence as he could, and that was pretty cool. One of the things that he and I had more discussions over, probably in the last 10 years, was God. It's always been important. God's always been important to me, and sort of went to church off and on growing up. I know Dad always believed in God, but never really talked about much. And over the last few years, I owned a Christian bookstore, so he was there a lot, and he absorbed a lot of the atmosphere. And he started asking me some questions, which was really cool, because I never had anything to talk to him about, because these two were in the pun fest with Dad. They had the sharp bits and the funny, and I'm just like, watch an tennis match with Dad, but I never really participated. So for me to be able to have somebody to talk with Dad about this is super cool. And we talked a little bit about scripture and how confusing the Bible could be, and he asked Carl questions, and it's been really neat the last few years to be able to see his faith really grow. Psalm 23 is in your bulletins, and that was one of the things that he liked the best. And then he and I talked a lot about Psalm 91, and so I was thinking about what scriptures really meant the most. This one's meant the most to me, and I've read it in several of my friends' memorials, unfortunately. But whenever I would share that with him, he would read it and we'd talk about it. So I just wanted to take a minute and read that with you. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge, my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and your rampart. You will not fear the terror of the night, and the arrow that flies by day, the pestilence that stalks in darkness, and the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but will not come near you. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If you make the Most High your dwelling, even the Lord who is my refuge, then no harm will befall you, and no disaster will come near your tent. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread upon the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because He loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue Him. I will protect Him, for He acknowledges my name. He will call upon me, and I will answer Him. I will be with him in trouble, and I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. One of the things that I found when we were going through all of his papers was a little booklet called My Dance with the Devil. What is that? And do I want to open this? Okay, here we go. And it was all about his cancer. So you may or may not know he had prostate cancer. A few years after, maybe a year or two after Carrie passed. And he absolutely knew that was going to take him. And it wasn't long after that that one of my friends had cancer, and I started reading Psalm 91. And so he had read it a few times. But throughout that journey, he kept a weekly journal of his journey through cancer. And it made me laugh. I mean, that's just who Dad was. He's going through cancer, and every other entry there's a snarky remark, a funny quip, and kind of thing. And I want to share with you, he and Carrie made a friend down in Florida on a cancer support group through Facebook of all places. Who says technology's on that? And she wanted me to share with you that his journey through Carrie's cancer and his journey through his own cancer is what's gotten her through her journey. Because he had the attitude of, if the treatment works, it works. And you're meant to be here. If not, you're not meant to be here anymore. Your work here is done. And so the work here is done. Well, it was a real honor in November. He had COVID, believe it or not. With all of his emphysema and everything that he had, his doctor told him early on, this will take you, so do not get COVID. And so we kept him in a bubble. I delivered his groceries, set him outside the door, knocked 3 times, and ran away. And we kept him very safe, and there were only a few people in the building who got it. And when he said he got it, we just pretty much knew that was it. Because there was no way that he could possibly be free. He shared with me a couple weeks after he got better that the night he was sleeping on the couch, so it wasn't flat because his oxygen would drop so much. And he shared with me that he absolutely knew he was going to die that day. And I had asked him, do we need to come? I'm coming. Here, I have to take him to the hospital. He said, no, I'm okay. And he just had this crazy peace. And I wasn't at peace because of that. And he knew he was going to die that night. And he told me a couple weeks later that he had a conversation with God. He said, I am finally ready. I'm finally ready. And he gave his life to Jesus. For the first time. I think he knew about God, but he didn't know. And knowing, really taking the inventory of his life and seeing all the things that God had brought him through is what really showed what God can do. And so I was so blessed that he would share that with me because I'm at peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the ceremony that brings us to Bob and his life. We're gathered here as family, friends, and members of this wonderful fraternity to celebrate the life of Robert Earl Moore, aka the Great Moroni, aka Bob Moore, who was a member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. Bob, as a member, was linked in fellowship with magicians all over the world, and his interest, activity, and skill of performing magic was enjoyed by those who were privileged to share his friendship. We of the Brotherhood offer this time as commemoration for his life and express our sympathy to the people to whom he was close. Let's be honest. Let us not pretend that it is less than it is. It is separation. It is sorrow. It is grief. But let us neither pretend that death is more than it is. It is not annihilation. For as long as memory endures, his influence will be felt. Let us be honest with death. For in that honesty, we will understand Bob better and ourselves more deeply. The wand, in story, is an ancient conjuring representation of mystery. To the uninitiated, it is but a piece of wood. To our late member, it was a reminder to him of the joy and pleasure of an entertainment art that has existed since ancient times. This symbol was for our departed member an historic emblem, like an old illusion called the linking rings. It linked him with others of like mind and of heart in this vast magic fraternity. This wand, without Bob, is now useless. The magic that infused itself into the life of performing on this earth is now broken, and we bid farewell when our loved one encounters mortality. The magic of his performance is over. The magic and mystery that he shared will remain in our memory as commemoration of his life. No one entering this world can ever escape the sadness. Each in turn must bear burdens, both rich and poor, and in turn bid loved ones farewell. Each one must suffer that sad goodbye when loved ones come to find that final moment that each in turn must face. But for those who make this life a pledge to the human spirit, there comes the assurance of a memory that made life worth living. Just a moment of silence just to It is my privilege to present this memorial for Bob, who was born into this world February 2nd, 1949, and departed this life May 28th, 2021. I met Bob for the first time spring of '76 at an evening of magic. It was put on by our bingo and novelty. Joanne Vandervalk had hired him to perform some tricks to kind of encourage her magic things to flow. And he had performed that evening, and I and a couple of friends had gone to meet him. And I was there. I had a top hat. He was there. He had a top hat. And after the end of his performance, there were a number of younger children, usually the ones that run into elevators and push buttons and run away, who vehemently encouraged him to pull a rabbit out of his hat. Now, the hat that he had for that performance was one of Joanne's New Year's Eve party hats. It was just kind of a hat in name only. And he looked into the hat and said, sorry, I must have left the rabbit in my other hat. And I said, well, here, use mine. Look. That evening told me two things. Either I was dead where I stood, or we were going to be lifelong friends. He looked into the hat, reached in, pulled out a stuffed rabbit. The kid was ecstatic, and Bob and I have been friends ever since. Now, as a member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians, this is a performance, this is a ceremony that is given to each of the members in turn as they pass. But we had a conversation sometime on the way to some performance somewhere about what happens when a magician does pass. And he brought up this ceremony. And I started talking about the flip over casket, the collapsing casket, the zigzag casket, that and the other thing. And I figure that if nothing else, at the end of Bob's life, and we who are members of the International Brotherhood of Magicians extend to the family and its loved ones our sympathy, fellowship, and gratitude for his life and companionship. He was endowed with the talent to amaze, mystify, and entertain. May we, like Bob, members of this ancient theatrical craft, use our skills, dexterity of hands, and voice to bring happiness and awe to those whom we consider our pleasant and beginning wonders. Let us also appreciate the beauty and wonder of life that may be hard to find within its suffering, problems, and setbacks. May Bob rest in peace, and may his memories last long with those who enjoyed his love, his talent, and his companionship.
Ken, thank you. So, like Rob said earlier, oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Okay, sure. We have a
Vera, she
program
said
change.
no.
She said no. Bob would have said no.
No, don't steal the show, lady. Please, if you'd like to say something, please come on up.
Well, Heather, Chris, and Rob, I've known your dad longer than you guys have been alive. So, I know.
And still you're here.
I'm still here, right. I I am Vera Richardson Tate, and I have been in charge of all of our South High School Class of 67 reunions, starting with 5 years after we graduated. But almost 5 years ago in 22, when we had our 50th class reunion. That was the first reunion that Bob was our MC. He made it to the reunion. Leslie, did you bring it?
No, I did not.
Okay, somebody brought me the 50th reunion because he was not driving at
I
that
think it
time.
was Vicky.
Might have been. And he was not our MC, and it was not the same. It was not the same. At all of our class reunions, when we have a picnic on Sunday, Bob would do magic. He had all the kids all around him. And I remember Leslie's daughter and my daughter could not figure out how Bob could let rabbit out of that house. And they wanted to know so bad, and Bob would never tell them. Also, at one of our reunions, I had dropped my closet door on my foot before the Saturday night event. And Sunday, it was so swollen that I have pictures of me leaning on Bob to get around the nature center because I couldn't move with my cane. But Bob was one unique guy, one we will miss when we have our next reunion. And you guys, he talked about you guys all the time. Rob, we even talked about all the free liquor you gave us.
I lost that job because you.
I know. We had security there and they fired him on the spot, I know.
It's worth it.
I just want to say Bob was one of our unique classmates that everybody in my class loved. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's a good question. We have an opportunity to do a couple of things. If anybody else wants to say something, I think this is enough crowd that we would welcome that. Otherwise, if you just want to mingle and share your stories, that's great too. If we stayed too long, there's this trick my dad taught me. Let's see. Who wants to be cut in half? No. Somebody I don't have to apologize to for the rest of the week. John?
Can I say something before I come up? The last show I saw Bob do was here in this room. And of course, much like his son, he called me up. However,
Did he cut you in?
I was a bit heavier at that time and there was not a step there.
Yeah. I haven't practiced this, but I found it in his bag, and he taught me this, and I did this on stage at Centennial High School in 1988 when I was a senior. And the person that I called up on stage never spoke to me again. So it worked. Two scarves. What we're going to do is tie these scarves in. We're going to tie these scarves. Honestly, I've never practiced this. I mean, I did. What's going to happen is we're going to take these scarves, tuck them in right here. Just raise your hand.
Grab your glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is this prescription? No, never 13 years now. If this works the way Dad did, the knot will pass completely through his body, still tied behind his back. Now, on the count of 3, completely through, and he'll be in. 1, 2, 3 weeks ago, right before Dad died, he did this trick. Cut the guy in half. He hadn't used this in so long, he forgot the magic. He makes a cute little couple. I mean, he survived. 1, 2, 3 people died in the course of my father's career while he was doing this. So I applaud your courage. And if we have to have a double service, we save you down there. Okay, on 3, all the way through. 1, 2, 3.
I got nothing.
That's obvious.
Yeah.
Hey, good job. Good cheer. Anybody wants to
But you don't speak of woman.
He did it.
He didn't always.
He didn't always speak of it.
Well, at my house, he did.
He did it to my high school principal at one show, Mr. Ferrer. It was beautiful. Yeah, does anybody else want to share anything? Otherwise, I'll just make Cosmo come up.
Yeah.
Hey Cosmo, would you like to spontaneously come up?
Sure. I almost didn't want to do this because I'm a sap and everybody's been so joyous and I'm just gonna. I don't know how you did it. I don't have that in me not to get emotional. Of course, even if he was here, I'd be crying over something. So, just real quick, I'll just say this. An interesting thing happened when I walked in. I saw Ken Marcus. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him since I was about 17 or 16, so I didn't really recognize him. He didn't have a white beard when you were probably, whatever, 20 years old. But I just, over all the years, I remember Ken did a simple little trick in a restaurant for me and a friend at the Pueblo Mall. And that trick changed the way, if this might not make sense to you unless you're a magician, but it changed the way I thought I should do magic. Yeah, so that one little trick. But I realized that I've had the opportunity, I made a living as a magician since about that time. And I've had the opportunity to work with some legends in my life. And I spent 20 years in LA. And a moment like that, and watching your dad, I think even though I've sat with some great magicians and learned my craft or my whatever you want to call it, I think the most influential things were things like sitting with you for an hour at lunch one day all those years ago, and more than that, watching Bob do a magic show when I was in the 3rd grade. Yeah, funny story, you mentioned God and everything. I was brought up Catholic. No offense to anyone, I'm just not Catholic anymore. They kicked me out. So. But I was invited to a magic show in the 3rd grade by my best friend, and it was at a church that was not Catholic. I don't know what it was, but it was on Pueblo Boulevard. And we went in and we sat down, and I couldn't believe I was going to see a real magician for the first time because I'd been into magic since I was in kindergarten. And I walked in, and I do remember the guy had the big giant glasses and a few other things that, would identify Bob very easily. But I didn't know who he was. And I got yanked out of the magic show halfway through, maybe 3/4 of the way through, because I saw a lot of it. But I remember watching this guy and realizing that it wasn't the tricks that I was doing. That wasn't what it was. And I was 3rd grade, but I was thinking like this. I remember thinking, this is the real deal. And then suddenly somebody grabbed me and yanked me out of my chair and literally dragged me out of the church. It was my mom, because we were devout Catholics. And I wasn't supposed to be in a church that wasn't Catholic. So, and I probably wasn't supposed to be watching magic. So, but I never forgot him. I can still remember many of the tricks he did, one of which was pouring milk into a cone and then opening it up, and the newspaper had a picture of flowers, and the flowers came out, and it was different than just doing tricks. So about 10 or 15 years later, I meet Bob as a young budding magician, and we started doing a few shows together, and I would just watch him, and I gotta tell you, this weekend I opened my theater, and I was supposed to come out and say hello to everybody, and I just couldn't speak for about 45 minutes. I just stood on the stage because Bob was supposed to be there. Yeah. So I was
He was
the
there.
highlight of my weekend would have been Bob sitting center row. But he was there at my first opening. He was there at my house when we did a theater in my home, which was very successful. We had a blast. He was there several times. We had just so much fun. And I could not believe, one of the most important people in my career got to see me do this stuff. One last thing. You're making it worse for me. One last thing. I didn't mean to speak this long. I thought I could just tell you that I learned from Bob, not any tricks. He didn't, well, no, I take it back. He taught me the broad trick. Which I immediately said, that's not going to be part of my life. So he wasn't a perfect magician, okay? But no, and he taught me a trick called the Professor's Nightmare, which to this day I do exactly as he taught it to me. And I don't do very many things the way I learned it. I usually embellish a lot, but I still do it that way. And he taught me a trick with a little bag where you put scarves in and the kid tries to find it and all this stuff. And I still do it exactly as he does. And they did it at the Magic Castle one time, and somebody said, I've never seen that routine done so well. And I said, thank you, Bob, because it was his way, And what I learned from him was that doing magic, you don't do magic for people, you do it with them. You really make it about all of us. And during the pandemic, I realized that somebody asked me why I didn't practice at all during the pandemic, why I didn't work on any magic and with all that free time. And I said, I really didn't know until I thought about it for a while. And this is absolutely related to my experience in the 3rd grade watching. I realized that it's not magic if there's not an audience. And I didn't have an audience for that year, So I had no motivation. And I practiced magic every single day my entire life. I asked my wife, if I go to the bathroom, I have to find a deck of cards first. I mean, every moment of my life was thinking. And for a year, I didn't even think or do magic. And I didn't know why. And it was because I think Bob early on showed me that this is about the audience and about the fun we can have. So that's all I got. I'll miss him dearly. So.
I take 2 things from that. Don't touch any card decks you find in Cosmo.
It's obvious he was not one of the hoarders.
Can I say just one thing from here about you? Last night you said one of the funniest things, and I said, man, that is not Bob's son. We were talking about your dad, and you said, you were the son he always wanted.
I was the son he got.
And I'm the son he got. I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
He was very proud of your career. And he spoke very freely of how successful you were.
Thank you so
It meant
much.
a lot to him, the way you remembered him in your theater. And the way you treated him in your theater just tickled him. And he walked on air when we came back from the shows.
Oh man. Well, you have a picture on your phone that couldn't sum up my entire life better. I had a mentor, I spent 18 years around and with, named Di Vernon, who is somebody I dreamed of meeting. And then when I met him, I thought, I'm done. And then I spent 18 years learning from him. I mean, he was one of the greatest magicians to ever live. And you've got this wonderful picture of me and Bob at opening night at my theater, just the 2 of us. And we didn't have time, we didn't have the money to really decorate. So all I had on that whole is the professor right there in the middle, the Vernon chairs in my theater. That's it. That's my whole life. Right
I
there.
saw you 2 talking and you stuff that was none of my business. I had to take that picture.
It's just the greatest picture ever for me. Yeah. So that'll go in the theater here this week. Yeah, I'll frame it and put it up there.
I'm gonna just sit around and talk. We go eat the candy, swap stories.
We should probably explain why out here we have the most insanely sweet candy you could possibly
The diabetes
get
bar.
together. Yeah, it's the diabetes bar. But they're all of Dad's favorite candies, and so that and Heather so sweetly went and accumulated them all.
We shared that love.
Yeah.
That was something that every one of our kids, grandkids, everybody, that you knew when you went to Grandpa Mickey Mouse's house, that you got to look through all the Mickey Mouse stuff, and there was always the bowl, it was a Mickey Mouse bowl, and it had 2 kinds of M&Ms and jelly beans. It was just a thing. And so we got no more fitting, I don't know if there was necessarily a dish that he liked, you know, like lasagna or anything like that. There's always M&Ms and jelly beans and
Yeah.
circus peanuts.
So that's why
that's why
I think
we-
what is wrong with these people?
So, yes, help yourself, share stories.
Did you want to say something?
I just want to put it into this, you mentioned the stripper at the 43. The rest of the story was, after that event took place, everybody was kind of, you know, hanging on. Now what's he gonna do? Bob doesn't miss a beat. So he says, you know, it was not a problem to sit there and watch that. It wasn't a problem to sit there and see that. It wasn't a problem to sit there and see you out there. The problem was looking over the shoulder and see my mother.
Thank you all for sharing this moment with us. It means a lot to us to have you here. And there's only one guy missing, I would have loved to know.
So feel free to get some snacks and you can come on back in
Wait,
here
wait,
and
wait,
through
wait.
the scrapbook.
We have a song that's about that. And this song was the song that he used to sign off from his last show.
Bombadilla, bombadilla.
This is how he said goodbye to Pueblo Radio.
Bob Moore, that's the old man. Mom's dad and I had so we all chatted and threw us together. Every course our neighbors, they all do. And I lost her. She said for him, he was horrible. So I love to go to his face and show him pretty else. Stuff and everything.
Well, we were
You can use it on the computer. And then there was on correct clarity and
They won't go through that.
Maybe just play the one song would be appropriate.
And then I ended up
Well, I think Bob was said we work together.
Well, it's,
I just came up with it. I had more than. What you was at There every Friday. Friend of ours. Twin brothers. Yeah.
It's just one of the.
They play. So we used to go, their friends of ours.
I like that. I was just,
Oh, there you go.
I'm in Fox.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, certainly. I babysit.
I'm okay.
When I first started international, I went up the horses down the street to Zale. So he was selling me a watch because I had never worn a watch before. And you have to have a watch when you're the retail. I do downtown. Once we moved to the mall, was the same. So, yeah. Well, now what did you do at John Bowles?
So Amy went and we chose
I think he was about 6 when my dad. My dad.
She loves to tell that story.
Yeah, big
I wanted to see it's gonna ever move back.
My daddy. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
Lots and lots. So you sold and did a lot of engraving.
Start out there and I went
real quick, catch on. I need to tell you, even though you're not, people think you are. So anyway. Bob tells me Like, Gordon's, I thought. Yes. You want to take a bus, you have well, my friend,
Too many years ago. Too many years ago, yeah.
and I told him that's.
Yeah, the old days.
So these are not in the board. Say, she go. I'll go
You
there.
know, I
We're all
would never
there.
recognize Rob.
Here we go. Since we get up to court, he's talking to us for.
I babysat my stepfather. There you go.
So, tell me about the meetings.
Anybody I ever knew, as small as he was.
Dark curly hair,
We introduced us, so it was nice meeting you guys.
Anyway. So we go walking in there, Tony gets right here. Guy goes, can I help you? I can't do it without kid, and he goes, I just come here. Right. So when they got done, you know, we all left and whatever. So the next day, the guy from Gordon goes down to sit. Gets his file out inside the store. So another lady in Betty came in last night.
You like candy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that was the tone of his voice. So he says, who's the guy that was with you? He said, well, he's a little short, a little stocky built. He said, I don't know who he is. And he told him, right? So Tony and I completely forgot about it. We died and chuckled at it. Kind of turned his coat a little bit. About a week later, Tony had to return something. Oblivious to this guy. We're done with him. It was all the way down the back of Orange Julius. He changed whatever it was he had to change. Got something to drink when they had those half round. Half round in here, half round in there. So we're sitting there drinking a Coke or whatever he goes. Guy. Went and got something to drink. He came around to sit on that side, got halfway down, never stood up. He looked over the stuff, right back to it, never bothered her again.
Oh my God.
But once the guy started talking about that, fill in, you know, make it. He was a trip. Just like Rob said,
Set something down.
I know. That's like me with my dad. This is years ago.
I was at 21 days. I had internet for 10 days.
He was always telling jokes and always being. I'm not making fun of him. That was an ill But if you let him just be him, always make a joke.
I don't have
Make a statement, you would twist it around and make it sound like a medicine. It might be related.
But I can still get So I had to find you guys.
Because he just thought he was gonna control everything, including me. Oh, I know, I'm not. You realize, this guy, I come to your house, I have to live under your roof. I finally made him understand, you come to my house, you don't control what goes on. My dad would make suggestions.
And that's hard, it seems like, you know, people when they're always, you know, panicking, that they're panicking.
And he always wanted to be.
I haven't been able to go to the, I get to go, I get to the door.
Oh, absolutely. And I got one day fun after about.
And that's what.
Took about 8 years. My mother-in-law's a sweetheart. Most guys don't like your mother-in-law. I told her, your dad would have passed before your mom would have come to us. And it's real easy to be around. You know, it's real nice. He tried to do it with everybody else like he used to do with my brother. I found out he's pretty tired of doing it. Not here.
And I had.
You're welcome here, you're welcome to come. You trust me. After that. My mom was typical Italian lady. If you're only 5 feet, it's always 5 meters, less than 5 feet. No. So we were at Sure. So we were at my mom and dad's house one day. Her mom and dad showed up. So my mom offered
Yes. That's okay.
So
You know,
we're getting ready to leave this thing down the kitchen. And my mom walks out in the kitchen and my father-in-law's reaching.
so I'm gonna ask them if they found.
She had him backing up the wall. She was in his face.
But just when they get find out before this.
And he goes, he says, don't you ever come. And I said, I looked at my dad. I said, this is him. He said, if it goes the other way, he said, I'll be here in our place. But she went up one side and he down the other. After that, you know,
Yeah, you don't want to.
well, no, the thing of it is,
And they got it.
I know what you mean, but you offered me food and I said no. I said, no, thank you, we're going out to dinner. So you leave the kitchen, and you come back in, you catch me sticking my hand in spaghetti sausage and meatballs to pull out a piece of sausage. I would expect you to put me up.
Yeah. So yeah, that's. I don't think that.
It was just, he wanted to be in control of it. And he made a comment to her one day, and I took him out to the side, and I said, she's your daughter, she's married to me.
It is not, I had
Well, we can understand.
I really have to tell myself, they know what they're doing, I don't have to take another version of them.
Our oldest brother's 57. My oldest is 56. And the youngest one was 50. What age? No, that's a compliment, I'll take it.
But I mean, now they would, your Bob's friend and stuff, but I thought you were like right in that age group.
No, I'll take it.
We have a 50-year-old daughter.
Well, I was, 4 days before my 21st birthday. 21st birthday.
Oh, wow. That's great to hear. That's great. We don't play that too often for those things everywhere.
Well, we had an agreement when we first got married. They didn't they had to trust you.
They really celebrated last year. But they were together for over 6 years. But yeah.
That was in Erlangen, 26 kilometers from now.
You guys leaving?
Not just yet.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
What are you doing nowadays?
March.
I am actually doing a screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was doing a screen with my provider.
She came up here.
I'm just trying to take one day at a
And
time.
it's down the bottom, it's the old man that did the when we went to Naples. So,
I actually went to Cosmo's show last night.
And, when we got to Rome, because of the time, we had to do certain places. We always got places 3 o'clock, small enough. But going to this town, I'm reading it should be pretty close. And everybody died. It was at night. So there's a place we went with a bike. And I
Is that Bob stuff?
Is it what?
Bob's.
I think so. I'm not exactly
I
sure.
stopped him and I asked him.
Do you have the backstage? Yeah, you do.
Started laughing.
I didn't know if that's the back of the building or what.
I asked him.
Yeah, it's a mess. No, you need it. I just wondered if you could. No, that was just a wall. Where
I was going to, about 9
He actually came out of the place where
the place was limited. Well, we got there at 4 o'clock.
And it was a lot.
Like everybody died. But at 9 o'clock in the morning, it was like New York City, we had 2 blocks from the house.
Yeah, I did. He said they came from
And then to get out of Rome,
So,
you had to assume the end of, not only sober, nothing had to follow you. All roads led to Rome, none of them led up.
you'll get a trigger.
I had to give a cab driver.
I love it. And you know, yeah, it looked like you're hungry. And then as soon as the party starts. This is great. Because we've got 3 little, lights. You got it. And, Yeah, we especially hit $75 person. That's it. We don't have a, did you really get
the crossbar, and they may be there for 2-3 hours. And they get down, they get up, and they go before the steel post.
You know, even the rules of, you know, like red light, green light, whatever, red light, it's on.
Yeah.
He stopped up. He stopped up. I didn't know it.
We did a
So when
variety
you said you pulled over, there's a, you know, a cop over there.
And it was
Nobody.
yeah, the other one was speeding.
Oh, no.
I used to work in Germany.
It was cool.
It's like a mall. And I worked for a business. And I used to work in this quarter. And that's how I kind of got into it. But, it was, you know, driving on the Autobahn, this is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, 90 stayed. We tried to do it all, you know.
With their bikes on, and red fingers, like, you better get over. There's a lot of traffic jams in Germany. There's one night I was in Berlin.
They asked me just the other day.
And it was like, I don't even know how I got around without a GPS. I talked to my mom today about it. How do people get around? I didn't know GPS. So anyway, I was for a good 30 minutes. Nobody was, you know, there must have been a big gap. I had to,
Yeah, that makes
The numbers on you got it out, you're only right at 4 o'clock. I was looking, I don't know how fast it was going last night, and it was finished from the front door to this, the whole come by and do all this. One thing we did learn as ignorant GI is the average German person hated it.
How long have you been here? This is.
They hated it.
I was gonna say, I was there when we were at.
We were at a beer fest,
Well, I don't think you need this. If you obviously have
was right here.
in addition to Denmark, two times, and you're gonna be here as long as you wanna be there. There's ever a huge idea.
This guy gets up there and
I'm absolutely.
he does it.
What's this?
We're becoming a fun.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And
it's loaded. Yeah, I'm telling you, I saw him do his version of, this trick.
The only thing he
I saw him do his version of this trick and finally said, that is
making these people know
and I've done it ever since the same way. It's one of the biggest.
great.
Basically, well, I mean, he used to go, okay, he used to tell the kid, go ahead and reach it in there and get it. And he showed it to each and they go like this, and they feel around, they couldn't find it. He goes, just get it out. And then we pull it out and put it back in and back, they go ahead. And that was the big deal right there. I mean, I'd seen the 20th century systems building roads, geez, it's that without a wrong. That was a friend, and I always thought it was a great trick.
You were crazy.
And then I saw him do it. Oh, that's it, well, there.
And then when they started selling all, you know,
But my dad, that's what I'm saying, I still do it. It's great.
I did because when you go to these,
Right, yeah,
it was around the same time. We stayed drinking those. Oktoberfest in New York. take the two. Yeah, unless I had a 3-day pass. You have to make so in the Venus room, never.
And they love to drink.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there 2 years ago. And I was really friendly.
So the voice starts out there.
Say, oh my gosh.
There's a whole
When I
lot
got
of
there and I brought my 2 sons with me,
And
we rolled out. I mean, my whole family, they rolled out. to the party. And every night, oh, but it's still go like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't
And it's
drink,
just-
I really, I'm not a drinker, but my boys, they were already in their 20s, you know. I don't think they had a dry day.
When I came down,
I remember you talking about that.
I was talking with my dad and my uncle, they were like,
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't do it that way, so my dad. So they did it one day and my dad looks at me, he goes, "Hey, don't."
no, I said, clear alcohol.
Because it was outside. Yeah. So,
I would be my
So
dad.
that's, if you're gonna hang out, that's all right. Tell me the next day.
So, my dad and my uncles, and my dad and my uncle, if you ever find it, you'll know. And they figure I'm never gonna find this stuff. Bring it over, they'll show you how to try it. I was giving guitar lessons for the
I think
studio.
that's awesome. It was fun. I think it was awesome.
And I have, I don't want to have to teach that.
You know, like, you
And
know,
at the end, I was like, this is
that's just the point for then the other two.
So I looked up at that, I didn't even ask her.
I love that.
I said, I'll take that book. So my dad and my uncle make the rounds on Christmas Day.
Last year I had
86 months open. We had all plastic cans.
Fun, yeah.
The cap came off.
So, well, with having theater, I was like, you know, your dad was like, yeah,
So I poured a
it's like
Reese's
concept
out.
shows during this month or whatever. I do, and
Merry Christmas. Well, you know, it was
right, like stuff again, it's stuff.
when they swallowed it, they looked at each other.
Well, we don't have a theater.
So as soon as the glasses hit the table.
You do that? All right, well, I'm gonna watch Netflix. Well, we were over
This
here
is
for
good. I put a tinfoil over it.
And then over one time, like, only, it's gonna be really big here.
Yeah.
Because everyone, he was really good.
Yeah, I'm doing.
21-year-old under the table. They were like the same age.
But even just imagine if we took lumps and we got, it just, yeah, it went back to the menu.
Well, I talked to myself while I was sitting there, oh, I just want to say that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like next door.
Yeah.
When we get off the boat, we had to go into the church. And there's people walking around with papers that say where you're going. And these guys walking around on the side.
Constant.
Yeah.
He was manipulating points as far as, I kept some balls from here.
Well, that's how it is.
Yeah.
If he did that, this was all messing with him. So when he was on stage, he didn't have to worry about this game. He was
So
reading the
we're doing our
audience.
business and I hear this lady saying,
Which just made
and I
him
turn around.
funny. And no two shows were over the same. As he played to the audience,
I-
while his hands just used the thing.
Oh, they're coming.
So you're literally missing.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
no.
hard
There's a lot of.
it's hard to follow when you're his kid and you want to get into it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I did this.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of times. With his dad. And he showed me how to do all the things. that
I'm
he
in there,
did.
in Frankfurt, you know, back in my.
Because I just couldn't have it.
Oh, well, it's so
And he
nice
said,
to
if
see
you
you
do
tomorrow.
personal, will you
Yes,
doing
nice
things?
meeting you.
All
Nice
over
meeting
the
you.
That's encouraging. The way he said it.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. He was right. And I never got it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't gonna be, unless I put more in. And,
We're working so many restaurants and dinner parties, I've never got a chance to.
thanks for coming, hope you can make the next one. Wait.
Well, great to meet you. I'm looking forward to seeing you at computer again. This is
Thanks for coming.
Hey, she said she was gonna introduce us, so.
Nice to meet
What's your name?
you. Michelle.
Michelle, nice to meet you.
Yeah, so when are you
Yeah,
gonna
you are.
have your next, another show?
Every Friday and Saturday night.
Oh, is it really? So we just definitely
Love
gonna
to
see
see you.
that. We don't live too far away.
Yeah.
We live,
Yeah.
we live in Austin Bluffs.
Pretty close, yeah. Cool.
So we'll definitely come around.
Great.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, take care.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Steve, tell Summer.
Oh, I was gonna say, you know, I never really did a formal cups and balls, but I practiced routine different things all the time. And then when I opened the theater, I said I finally can do a real cups and balls routine because I was just doing restaurants and dinner parties, and I've never practiced anything harder.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking 15 hours a day sometimes. I get up early in the morning, Carrie come in. Are you gonna come in for dinner? And I've been in my room just doing it, and my back is killing me because you know I'm doing like this the whole time, every single day.
I didn't have the kind of focus.
For months and months and months, and still I go home and go, I got to work on it some more. But the muscle memory thing saved my butt the last 2 nights.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I ad-libbed a cups and balls routine the first night when you weren't there. That was nothing like I've ever done, and people said, I've seen you do the cups and balls 6 times now in this theater, in your theater, and whatever you came up with now is just awesome. I'm like, I have no idea what I did, and we recorded nothing. We always record. I have 400 and some shows on hard drive, and we did not record opening night.
Of course.
I want to kill myself for that.
Yeah. Wow.
Tom.
And you're a Garden of the Gods.
Garden of Gods in the
Lousy party.
Okay.
It was a lousy party.
Oh,
well, a few months.
yeah, okay.
Wow.
Well, what do you know?
Something else. I leave tomorrow very early.
Do you?
But let's keep in touch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Carrie wants me to take all the pictures you saw from one with the walls and put nothing but Bob stuff. I said, honey,
it's a little much.
I said, slow down. I want to put some stuff up with Bob for sure, but we can't put 19 pictures of him in 3, you know, and he wants me to put together all these things. I'm like, well, trust me, we're going to put something up there. So,
not the Bob Moore Theater.
Well, I wouldn't mind.
Well, let's not make it
You
weird.
just gave me an idea.
I guess I'll be back next summer.
Right. Oh, man.
Santa?
Sir. Sure.
Beautiful, beautiful job.
Uh-oh.
I thought you were quicker than this.
As it was about 2/3 away in the arc, I realized, well, he just flung that at me. I should probably react. All right. I'm ready now.
Santa Claus point? That's pretty cool. Your copper, 0.999 anyway.
Yep.
I'm doing I do the silver coins, right? I'm doing the show one time and the guy sits there, said pure silver, 1940s, all the stuff I usually say. And then the guy says, well, actually, those are 0.996 and they're not pure silver from, you know, and he starts in the middle of the show, he interrupts to make sure that I never say that again because they're not 100% pure silver.
That's fascinating, sir.
So
Anyway,
he
these
would
are
not let
100%
it go.
yourself.
I mean, weird. And I was really bummed out that the first night I didn't do the coins to end with, which everybody wanted to see, and my signature stuff, I didn't even do it. I was so confused.
Boulevard, he used to come to
It was such a crazy night.
and
You
do
know?
shows for the kids on their birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Have we met? What's your name?
Tom Marizino.
Oh, Cosmo. Nice to meet you.
These are the earliest friends, like family, that I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've known about, it'll be 50 years this June.
I do not have a memory in my life that predates that.
Yeah. Wow.
Some of it might have been some of the head injuries that were incurred at the
Can I
house.
tell you a totally different story
Absolutely,
than what everybody else has told today?
definitely.
Uh-oh.
Okay. See, when you're Italian, people think you are, even though you aren't.
Uh-huh.
Understand what I mean? So anyway, she was working with your dad at sales in the mall. And the guy at Gordon's was hitting on her. So your dad gets me aside one day. He says, the guy at Gordon's is trying to make your wife. I told him, leave her alone. He said, I told him, leave her alone. She's married. I don't give a shit about her husband, blah, 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 blah. He said, okay, I'm just warning you. Well, not only was Bob a good magician, he was quick on his feet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, real quick on his feet to fill in, and just ad lib as he went. So he told me about it, and I said, okay. So I called Tony DJ. Remember him?
Mhm.
He's like a refrigerator with a head. Curly
I
hair.
know the details. Yeah.
So him and his mom were gonna go shopping at the mall, and Betty and I were. I said, why don't we meet? We'll go shopping together, and then we'll go get something to eat. And I told him what was going on. They said, you want to have some fun? I said, sure, why not? So we go in the mall, and we'll let those two get in front of us, and we start going in. And I told him, make sure your mom goes into Gordon's. He knew why. So the two women go into Gordon's, and Tony and I slowed down. This guy was out here like a cheap suit. And I went, son. He said, okay. So Tony looked at me. We walk in. The guy from Gordon's sees him walk in first. And Tony gets right here. The guy says, can I help you? He said, just come here to look. So the next day, the guy sees Bob and your dad in the mall. He said, Betty came in with an older lady and two guys last night. And he said he wasn't real comfortable talking about it. He said, so your dad goes, what'd they look like? Well, one guy was about so tall, dark hair, and I had a red down jacket. Right? Wearing a red jacket. He says, well, who's the other guy? He says, I don't know. He's a little bit shorter, real stocky built, curly hair. Oh, he said, no. When he asked about me, he said, well, that's her husband. He said, well, then there was another guy with him. So he said, well, describe the guy, right? So he describes Tony. And he says, who's that guy? Your dad goes, I have no idea who he is, but he doesn't go anywhere without him. After that,
never talked to him.
So there were boundaries established.
Yes. So 2 weeks later, I go to the mall with Tony. He had to return something, and we stopped over near the Orange Julius to get something to drink. And there's the two benches like this. So we're sitting here. I forgot all about this guy.
Sure.
We just had a little bit of fun, and what the hell, right? So now Tony goes, here comes your buddy. And it was the guy from Gordon's. So he goes over to the Orange Julius, he gets whatever, and he sits in that half circle over there. And he got halfway down like this. And he saw the two of us sitting there, never stood up. That's how he went down the wall.
Just like that.
But he didn't bother him.
That's great. So he's not bothering you now?
Oh, no.
Well, yeah, Zales.
Yeah, right?
Zales was when the mall opened. Right, I saw that.
And when Lisa had that problem with that Mario, he came to the golf shop. So what do you want to do? Let me know.
I believe it.
No, see, there was a side to him a lot of people didn't see.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was a great friend. He was funnier than heck. Make you laugh all the time, but there was a serious side to him.
Well, that's what I said. He didn't heal a little bit. He was all in or he was all out.
Yeah. He was either really your friend or he wasn't.
If he was your friend, he'd do anything for you. If he was your enemy, he'd do anything to you.
Maybe that's why we got along so well. But no,
yeah, you guys were you were the Italian side of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I ever tell you a story about when I slept with their daughter?
I don't think I should
no,
probably leave.
he can tell it.
I don't have to be a witness stand.
No, they were only 6 years
I don't
old.
have time to go on the witness stand.
They were playing cards and their daughter Amy's the same age as I am, and we both fell asleep, I think, under the
Under the table.
Oh, slept with the dog.
At the store, because we were getting new carpeting that
Oh,
night.
that's right.
And all the cases were out of the store, so we spent all night at the store
Outside.
outside while they were laying the carpet. And your grandmother took the two of you with her,
Okay.
and that's what happened.
And we ended up going to the same school, grew up together, graduated, same class. Amy never missed an opportunity to tell the story of me being the first person she ever slept with.
That's awesome.
Even though they were only 6.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that was really awesome when I introduced her to girlfriends.
Yeah, then she said.
First thing I ever met.
That's
You
fun.
know, I slept with Bob.
Mm-hmm.
That's
She
great.
loves that.
Wow.
It's nice to have stories like that, you know.
I met Bob and I'm seeing phone call. That's what you-
Like you do.
Well, you know, I met my wife through showing her Hooters on the internet.
Yeah, we when we moved here, he found our place, and so we started talking on the phone. I was in Connecticut, he was out here, and that's what he said. We met at an obscene phone call.
She's an ornithologist. She rescued a couple of owls. Showing her Hooters. on
Got
the
it.
internet.
Gotcha.
I'm not Googling either one of you, so thank you for that.
Okay, if you Google my name the way you have it spelled in the program,
I didn't, that's on Heather.
I know. I knew who did the program the instant I opened it, because she's always has. And it's like, that's funny.
Always spelled your name wrong?
I can guess it, she spelled it with a C? Yeah, that was the name of the kid across the street from us.
And if you Google that name, you'll come up with some things you don't want to see.
Oh, okay,
That's
well,
pretty
thank you for telling me.
Note to self.
How old was your dad?
72.
Yeah, I knew I was older.
I bet you're still here.
I am.
So you win.
Yeah.
So she wins.
She's even older than me.
I'm older than everybody. Everybody.
I'm not asking. I'm not taking the bait.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I was raised better than that, man.
I was just older than your dad. I'll put it this way. This year is my last year in my 70s.
I went to get you water and never did. I'm sorry.
I got it.
I'll be 79 in August, I'll be 79 in December.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, next year's the big one.
Wow. I thought the big one was,
No.
well, the first time I thought the big one was 30.
Well, that
That
was,
was nothing.
that was,
It moves.
yeah, that was big at the time.
Unless thunderclaps or.
50 was big at the
I
time.
would love to live like I thought I was old 20 years ago.
I didn't hear all that.
Well, I
Probably don't want
promise I would go
it.
back would be.
I mean, I heard what he said about you already.
To my
Like, that's
childhood.
enough.
I wouldn't even go that far.
No,
But I am gonna
21
Google
was
the
good.
Hooters
I
thing.
enjoyed
I'm
it.
happy in myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't, well, that's true. I wouldn't want to be, maybe.
This is a true story.
Really do. Then I would have already had
Wife-
kids. I wouldn't have to go through all that again.
Hooters on once, yeah.
Oh, we had a good time at 30.
So you had 2 owls?
Yeah, I had possession with two great hotels.
Yeah, Lisa's gonna be
57.
57 this year.
The camera's still on.
Pretty fabulous.
Wow, that's
Whoa,
old, Lisa.
Lisa.
That's really old.
My father tells me.
Sherry will be 56.
Isn't it just
She's a firefighter. She's a paramedic.
I can't do the math in my
She has
head.
llamas.
63,
Yeah.
and this is,
21.
You know the difference in the llamas?
Yeah.
You know what a 1L llama is?
Yeah.
You know what a
She's
2L llama
57
is?
now.
Okay, a 1L llama.
She was born in 64.
1 hour.
4 from 11
1L
to 7.
llama.
Yes.
She's 57.
You know, the Dalai Lama.
Right.
I thought she'd be 57.
You know what
This
a
year,
2L
Sherry will
llama
be
is?
56.
It's 21.
Well, it's like an alpaca, only it's
Yeah.
ugly.
All I know is
And
my kids are in
meaner.
their 20s. That's all I got.
That's all you get.
I have my oldest grandson.
You know what a
30.
3L llama is?
3 llamas.
Then we have Shannon, who is
They
gonna
got
be
fire.
27. Then we have Bailey, who'll be 23. Harley, which will be
He's been
22.
dying to tell that
Tara,
to
which will be
somebody.
19.
Where'd you put my M&Ms?
Adrian will be
M&Ms
18.
after that.
Adrian will be 18, Cody will be 22, Cody will be 22, and Josh will be 22.
Wow. He likes it.
Don't ask me their birthdays though, I could get.
Well, then I'm not impressed. Well, see, I see blue, she says, well, no, that's navy, or that's. Right. You know what I mean?
And they're more expensive.
See how that works?
So you mentioned Tony DeJoy?
I need to get water. Oh, yeah.
I was, got to be pretty close with Val and all of her kids and everybody.
Okay, well, Joe treated my kids like his grandkids.
Yeah.
We'd go to the house, they get run around the house, and say, slow down. She'd tell me,
They're so,
this is
and
my
they are
house.
cuter.
If I don't want them running
But my
around,
girls
I'll
are
tell them
very-
to stop.
You
Okey dokey, Joe. No,
No,
they treated us great.
I'll tell you, man, I had an agent in LA and she, so I said to her, can you find me anything called that? Because I had a son, right? He was 18, I had a kid with
They're
his
just.
new wife, and before we even knew she was pregnant, we decided she was getting married. Headed up to LA and they found out I had a kid.
Yes.
So I would fly back and forth or drive all the time to come see my kid. And I told the agent, I said, if you can get me back there so I can see my son, so she says, well, I got you something in Colorado. I probably don't want to do it. It's in some Scoop me in Canyon City or something. And she said, it's not called Pueblo. That's where I grew up. That's exactly where I want to go. So
There they are.
I get this job at Gaetano's.
Oh my God, I remember Gaetano.
Oh, Gaetano's, yeah.
On Highway 50.
Oh, yeah. And so she gives me this job at Gaetano's, and I went, I remember that place, I've never been to it. Expensive for teenagers, I looked at it as a teen. So, I fly in, go to Gaetano's. I've been doing magic for, I don't know, in LA for 7 8 years. And I specialize in restaurants, so it was perfect. And
Annabelle and Tinkerbell.
I walked in, I was barely on time. And I went, oh, I'm not gonna go meet the manager, I better get to work. So I walked in and I go to the table and I'm so comfortable with this, I just start saying hello. And somebody grabs my arm and says, hey, are you the magician? And it's Jack. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the magician.
Can
He
name
goes,
them.
my mom hired you,
He's like on
but you ain't doing this stuff with my people, my customers or my people. And I went, what? And he goes, these are my people, I'm not a damn magician in here. He probably didn't say damn, you know.
Yeah.
And I went, well, you guys bought me a plane ticket, you paid me already? I'm here, I mean, that's fine if you don't want credits, I want to.
You're not getting the money back.
And what am I doing saying that to Jack? So I go, you know, so I didn't know better, and then he goes, come back to my office. And he walks back to his office and walking behind him, doing his sponsor and all that. And I'm realizing, this is the Deepak family, what the hell am I doing? I'm not gonna come out of this room. So we walk all the way back down the hallway, going to his big office, and big desk, and he sits down and he goes, show me something. And he did a coin trick where I put a coin in his hand, and when he opens it, it's gone. And it was just some little thing that I like doing, but it was kind of crazy.
You like it?
And he went, and he opened his hand, and the coin wasn't there. And he goes, he didn't look up at me, he just goes,
We live right off of that.
go to work. And he wouldn't look at me, he just goes, go to work. And I went, okay. And I went to the restaurant. I'm at my first table. Same hand comes on my shoulder, squeezes it, and he goes, hey, have you guys seen my magician? And he followed me around all night long. And it became a 14-year relationship, and they were so great to me.
My buddy was Sano.
Remember Sano?
No.
Sano.
Sano Spinuzzi, there was Sano, Gus, Scotty.
I remember these names are very familiar.
Oh,
Frankie.
Scotty, yeah, Scotty was a big deal in this town for a long
I was
time.
just a kid, you know, whole Southwest party.
Well, yeah.
Well, they would pick I don't remember who it was, but they came to my dad, because my dad was kind of a beefy guy, and he came to my dad and my brother-in-law, and they wanted to hire him to be, you know, get some muscle for him.
Yeah, well,
And my dad was telling my mom, I remember being little kid, but honey, it's great money. She's like, you are not doing much. But they would fly me in as often as I wanted. If I was out of work about her and the kids, and don't want any work.
If anybody borrowed them, I'd go down and talk to one of them. That's probably the way.
Thank you.
Well, I would call Val and go, hey Val, you know, I'm not working a lot for the next month or so. And if you need anything, you know, if I could come out and do some work with you, and make some money, you know. She go, oh, honey,
You can see through like.
I'm gonna send you some money. She sent me like $1,000 for coming asking. And I go, well, I'll come out and work. She goes, no, it's okay. Or if you want to come, great. So then I come. And then she paid me again for being there. And she goes, let me get back. She just took care of me, you know. And then we moved to Colorado.
after about 8 years of doing it there, we moved to Colorado, did another about 6 years. From Colorado, she went down, and she said, you can work 7 nights a week, whatever you want. And she paid me way better than LA. So they were just awesome.
Yeah, they were
That was
really
a
nice.
tough time for me when Jack.
Well,
became buddies.
Frank.
The Frank Canoes.
Off the wall here.
And the person.
Yeah, Frankie owns the restaurant.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't very
Pretty
mechanical,
much this big one.
so I went down
There are
and,
some that do, come in and out, but.
I built the floor up on 2x6s around the wall with a booster.
Oh, yeah.
Great horns can
Because he
stand up.
wanted that.
It's like raised up.
So
Even though people. will
I got
say,
that done for me, I had it carpeted and everything, so my mom.
No, you didn't.
My dad worked. I go, "Frankie,"
They are, they've got a.
if my dad catches me doing this, he's gonna figure it out. Get some cold cut trays and rollers and mustard and this and that, whatever.
They're huge,
So
yeah.
we'll run a bar tab and at the end.
So
of the
your
night,
eyes
some
go,
bacon.
oh, is that?
Okay, cuz, don't worry about it, take care of it.
So that's like, oh my
So we go in there, it's my dad's birthday, and there's like picnic tables. He's got cold cut platters and you name it.
People's imagination.
We danced and had a good time,
Yeah,
we were in a bar tab and everything, I walked up to him, he said, at the end of the bar, we were leaving. And I walked up and I went like this, I said, how much?
Yeah,
He said,
they're
put your
lucky to
effing hand
weigh
back in your pocket.
4 pounds,
You
but.
pull out a
Right,
penny,
right.
I'll cut it off. And I said, no, we can't do
It
this.
is a lot of fun.
You know, he's gotta have a couple $100 invested in just
I love
food.
birds. They're great.
He said, I told you to put your hand in your
I love
pocket, get
going
out of
all
here.
over the place trying to see if I can.
And it was all because I did that.
Oh, those little
Two
words, the
walls,
words, yeah.
you know,
You should see this bird, oh my gosh.
But
this bird is
you couldn't ask for
like
it.
this, and-
I'm telling you, they were
The whole
such
bunch.
great people, yeah.
they were who they were.
Yeah. Well, I'd flown in, and I've been there for a while, right? And I walked in, and Joe, God, I can't think of his last name, he was the manager back then. And I came in and I said, hey, Joe, he goes, hey, it's Cosmo. And I saw this guy, good looking guy, about this tall. I'd never seen him, and I knew all the staff really well. And I go, and Joe just messing with me, he goes, he's from Vegas. I go, yeah, he goes, yeah, he's, Val loved what you do so much, we have another magician. And I was like, this is my gig, man. Yeah, nobody knows my place, you know, it was just a thing for me, because I've been there a while. And you could see in my face, I was really upset. And then I found out he was just a waiter, and he was messing with me.
But there's
This
not a
kid
lot
was
of
from
them,
Vegas,
but
big guy,
right
really
now
good looking.
it's nesting season.
And so I'm chatting, and my deal there was I'd be chatting with people a
About
lot.
the
This
middle
was
of
real family.
July, end of July, we'll start
And so I was
seeing
talking
moms
on
bring
another
the
table, sometimes I wouldn't do magic, it was just
Show
all
them
like, you know, fair play. And this new waiter comes over, and he goes, hey, you know what, you're gonna do some magic or what? You're gonna just stand there and talk to people, like right in front of them. You don't know who I am, do you? And I just looked at him like, what? And Jack came from nowhere, I didn't know he was there, grabbed this kid by the back of the neck in the bar, yanked him
I
back, and he
chase
goes,
them out.
I didn't ever talk to my magician like that again. You know,
You
and
don't
so
get
he
to-
threatened him right in front of everybody, the whole place went silent. And he goes, you got that? And he went, boom, like this, and kind of threw him, the kid like pissed his pants. Quit, he never came back again. I don't know, he was some high, you know, big time waiter in Las Vegas, and he thought it was a big deal, you know? So, I know. It was the greatest experience I ever had. I said, man, this guy's got my back, you know? But it was the best time. I would come from working in Hollywood and movie stars' homes and everything, get the club loan. This is a big deal. And I just loved working there. I just loved it. It was the best time ever.
There for a while, I was throwing.
Wow.
Remembers me.
Good job, Eva.
That's what I was gonna say, that's what did you?
And then they told friends, and they told friends, and.
Well, she was
I
ready to
stood there
be
at
done, and,
the door and I-
you know, she sold it to somebody who owned the restaurant next to it. I forget what it is or was. So he wanted to go into the fine dining, and so he bought her place, and then he just couldn't make it work.
Yes.
I mean, that place
They're
was
gonna
gonna
start
be
flying in, crashing into your windows.
That's still over there.
Yeah.
Elm
So you
Street.
just stop seeing them.
That's the Blues Festival years ago. I don't know if his family that, you know, took it over.
Yes.
Or just kept the name.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty much, and they're, I mean.
Some great experiences over there.
I like
Okay,
them.
here, you ready?
Hey, nice talking to you, guys.
Nice
All right,
talking to you.
you too.
to become